Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first living computers built from human brain cells reveal a black box problem, challenging the future of wetware. So we'll discuss why this breakthrough matters for AI and what it means for the urgent ethical challenges ahead. Second, the US captures 97% of generative AI investment, creating a high-risk platform trap for European startups. We'll explore how this capital divide shapes the AI race and what it signals for Europe's competitive future. Third, Apple's new AirPods offer real-time translation, but the feature is blocked in the EU by its Digital Markets Act. We'll examine how this regulatory split impacts tech rollouts and what it means for industries from tourism to aviation safety. Fourth, AI chip challenger Cerebras pulls its IPO after revealing 87% of its revenue comes from one foreign customer. We'll break down this sudden pivot and what it signals about the immense pressure and risks in the AI chip war. Fifth, TikTok's algorithm allegedly recommends pornography to kids, facing a major test from the UK's new Online Safety Act. We'll analyse why this is a turning point and how it could trigger massive fines under powerful new UK law. Scientists have just revealed an absolutely eerie finding from their work building computers out of living human brain cells. They've recorded over 1,000 instances of these lab-grown mini-brains showing a sudden, mysterious flurry of activity in their final moments, right before they die, an event that mirrors what has been observed in some humans at the end of life. So, the thing is, this end-of-life electrical burst might be explained by something called complex network theory. Imagine the organoid as a tiny, intricate power grid. As it starts to fail, the loss of a few key connections, a few critical neurons can trigger a domino effect, a cascade of failures that spreads through the entire system, causing one final massive surge of activity before it all goes dark. Studying this could give us unprecedented insight into how neural networks collapse, not just in a dish, but potentially in our own brains. Welcome to the world of wetware. A Swiss lab called Final Spark is at the forefront, creating what they call organoids, tiny spheres of neurons grown from human stem cells. These mini brains are then hooked up to electrodes to function as a new kind of computer. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. These organoids respond to electrical signals from a keyboard. When a reporter pressed a key too many times, the organoid's responses suddenly stopped, followed by a short, distinctive burst of energy. The lead scientist, Dr. Fred Jordan, admitted they don't fully understand it, even suggesting the reporter may have annoyed them. That admission that they don't understand points to the single biggest challenge in this field, the black box problem of wetware. How can you build a reliable computer on a biological system whose behaviour is unpredictable? Researchers can't easily debug it. This inherent mystery could be a fundamental roadblock, or it could be a unique feature we can harness for entirely new types of problem solving that don't rely on predictable, rigid logic. The race is on to harness this power, with the goal of creating computers that replicate how AI learns, but using a fraction of the energy of current methods. Now, get this. While a living computer might use less electricity to run a task, we have to consider the total life cycle cost. Think about the massive energy required for months of cell culturing, providing a constant supply of nutrients, maintaining perfect climate control, and disposing of biological waste. Right now, there's no clear data on whether that whole process is truly more efficient than manufacturing a silicon chip, where up to 75% of a device's carbon footprint comes from its production. It's a huge open question. Another firm, Cortical Labs, has already taught its artificial neurons to play the video game Pong. This actually shows not everyone in this field has the same goal. While Final Spark is aiming for ambitious general-purpose living servers, Cortical Labs is demonstrating that these systems can be trained for very specific tasks. Meanwhile, researchers at Johns Hopkins are focused more on using this technology to model diseases and understand the brain itself. But the single biggest challenge remains, as Professor Simon Schultz of Imperial College London explains, these organoids don't have blood vessels to deliver nutrients, which is a massive problem scientists don't know how to solve yet. Beyond the technical weirdness, this also brings up the most profound questions of all. What are the ethical rules for this? Current guidelines focus on using organoids for medical research, not for building computers. If these organoids develop capabilities that border on sentience or the ability to feel pain, what are our responsibilities? Who owns the intellectual property created by a living computer? These are no longer just philosophical questions. They are becoming urgent legal and moral challenges. While the technology sounds like pure science fiction, experts like Dr. Lena Smirnova at Johns Hopkins University believe the future isn't about replacing the silicon chips in your laptop. The ultimate goal is for biocomputing to complement silicon AI, not replace it, while advancing disease modeling and creating a new frontier in computation. We were just talking about the future of AI computation, but in the here and now, the global race for AI dominance is being defined by something much simpler: money. A new report just dropped a staggering number. While nearly $50 billion flooded into generative AI startups in the first half of 2025, the United States captured 97% of that investment value. Europe, just 2%. This isn't just a number. It points to two fundamentally different investment philosophies. Research shows that while Europe actually accounts for a respectable 23% of all generative AI deals, the value of those deals is tiny. European venture capital tends to be more risk-averse, preferring smaller, safer bets. In contrast, US investors are making massive winner-take-all investments in foundational models. The amount invested per company in the US is almost 5 times higher. This isn't just about money. It's about a brutal pace being set by US giants like OpenAI and Anthropic. Their models are being updated so frequently that it's creating a sink or swim reality for startups building on top of them. A partner at Andreessen Horowitz just went on the record with a stark assessment saying the speed of innovation, speed of product velocity, speed of distribution actually ends up winning over everything else. He added that in the current AI landscape, momentum is the only moat. So what is Europe's real endgame here? The strategy has been to focus on the application layer building tools that make AI useful. We're seeing the US push full scene video from text, while at the same time, some in Asia are animating single photos with uncanny realism. Europe, for now, is opting to compete more on that layer where AI meets users. However, if you zoom out, you'll see a huge risk in this strategy known as the platform trap. The core issue is this: European startups might build an amazing application on top of a model like OpenAI's, but what happens when OpenAI decides to release that exact same feature themselves? At any moment, the very platform you rely on could become your biggest competitor. One prominent investor admits the challenge, stating it's hard to compete with a country where the appetite for risk is way high, where the amount of capital is way higher as well. Yet, France's own AI champion, Mistral, has already raised $2 billion to position itself as a direct competitor to OpenAI. Interestingly enough, Mistral is playing a different game. Instead of a closed proprietary model, Mistral's strategy is a clever mix. They release powerful open source models for free to build a massive developer community, but they make their money by offering premium commercial API access and enterprise services. It's a gambit to challenge the closed-off approach of the US giants. And in a surprising twist, some European founders are flipping the script. One CEO argues that while the US is oversaturated, it's actually faster to hire top talent in Europe. He calls it a competitive advantage. And there's real data to back this up in what some are calling talent arbitrage. For example, a mid-level AI engineer in the US might command a salary of $150,000, while the average in Paris is closer to 55,000 euros. Factoring in cost of living, Europe becomes very attractive. The message from the ground is clear. The capital gap is massive, but for some, the bottleneck is no longer capital or talent. As one founder put it, the only thing we need to do in Europe is change our mindset that it is possible. Speaking of Europe's unique position in the tech race, a new feature from Apple highlights another major factor: regulation. A seemingly impossible collaboration became a reality yesterday. Real-time translation beamed directly into your ear via Apple's new AirPods. But there's a catch, not if you live in the EU. Now, to be clear, the idea isn't entirely new, but what makes this a potential game changer is that Apple is reportedly doing the processing right on the device. This means faster, more private translations without sending your conversations to the cloud. The feature is blocked in the EU, though, because of the Digital Markets Act, whose interoperability requirements Apple says are too complex to meet right now. It shows this growing split between how tech rolls out in the US versus Europe. This isn't just about ordering coffee, it could rewire entire economies. A recent poll found 1/3 of Americans deliberately avoid countries where they don't speak the language. This tech could push millions of tourists beyond familiar traps, funneling money directly to small, local businesses. What really brought this to a head are the stakes in other industries like aviation, where this technology could be a literal lifesaver. A single language barrier at an airport can cause a 1-hour hold-up to spiral into a 7-hour delay across an entire fleet. In the air, several fatal crashes have been directly linked to misunderstandings between pilots and air traffic control. And in aviation, the stakes are literally life and death. To make this work, research into AI for air traffic control shows that these systems can reach up to 95% accuracy in lab settings, but the real world is messy. The big unanswered questions are, can they perform under pressure with jet engines screaming in the background? And who is legally responsible if the AI makes a fatal mistake? We just don't have the answers yet. But that's not the whole picture. The technology is far from perfect. One review found the software occasionally inserted stray swear words into translations. More importantly, experts warn it can't decode the most human parts of communication, like an Italian's flick of the chin or a Brit's use of insults as a sign of friendship. This brings us to a core conflict: convenience versus connection. Believe it or not, some experts are concerned this creates what they call a tourist bubble, where you can consume a culture through a digital filter without any of the genuine effort or deep learning that comes from navigating a misunderstanding. Campaigners for multilingualism point out that learning a new language delivers proven cognitive benefits, including stronger executive functioning and enhanced attention. While the tech has its uses, it cannot replace the joy of making meaning in a new language. While some tech aims to bridge human communication, the communication between AI chips themselves is at the heart of another high-stakes drama. An AI chipmaker just pulled the plug on its IPO only days after announcing it had raised over $1 billion. The company is Cerebras Systems, one of the ambitious challenges to the industry giant NVIDIA. And this is a real David and Goliath story. You see, while NVIDIA's power comes from linking thousands of smaller GPUs, Cerebras builds one single massive dinner plate-sized chip called the wafer scale engine. It has 900,000 AI-optimized cores on a single piece of silicon. The idea is that by putting an entire AI model on one chip, you eliminate the communication delays between thousands of smaller chips. In one study, the Cerebras chip was 210 times faster than NVIDIA's top GPU. It's a huge architectural gamble. Just this week, Cerebras announced it had secured a massive $1.1 billion in private funding, hitting an $8.1 billion valuation. CEO Andrew Feldman said it was good practice not to let enormous opportunities fall by the wayside for lack of capital. But then, in a sudden reversal, Cerebras formally withdrew its plans to go public in a filing with the SEC. A company spokesperson told CNBC the US government shutdown had nothing to do with it. Instead, the official reason is that the company's original IPO prospectus from over a year ago was simply out of date. The real turning point, however, is a detail that changes the entire story. That prospectus revealed something that would make any public market investor extremely nervous. In the first half of 2024, a staggering 87% of Cerebras' revenue came from a single customer, G42, an AI firm in the United Arab Emirates. This kind of customer concentration is a massive risk, and it likely means the public markets would not have supported the company's private valuation. This move comes as the AI infrastructure world is seeing spending on an almost unimaginable scale. The competition is fierce, and the numbers are staggering. CoreWeave, which rents out NVIDIA chips, just signed a $14.2 billion agreement with Meta, and ChatGPT operator OpenAI has committed to spending an incredible $300 billion on cloud services from Oracle. This deep reliance on G42 isn't just a financial risk, it's a geopolitical one. While the US government did clear the investment, having a key American AI hardware challenger so dependent on a single foreign entity creates a delicate balancing act. So by pulling the IPO and taking $1 billion in private money instead, Cerebras gets to build its war chest without the intense public scrutiny that would come with that G42 dependency. It's a strategic pivot to wage a longer war against NVIDIA from the shadows of the private market. Now, from a company trying to manage its risks in the private market, we turn to one facing a massive public test of its own. A new report alleges TikTok isn't just failing to protect kids from pornography, its algorithm is actively recommending it. This involves a fascinating concept in AI called the cold start problem. When a new account is created, the algorithm has no data on you. So the theory is that it defaults to content known to get the highest engagement, often controversial or sensational material before it has a chance to learn your preferences. It's a system designed for maximum hook, not maximum safety. Researchers from Global Witness created fake accounts for 13-year-olds, and even after turning on TikTok's restricted mode, the app started suggesting sexually explicit search terms. This brings up the illusion of safety features. Restricted mode sounds like a fortress, but it might just be a picket fence. The problem could be a fundamental architectural flaw. If TikTok's powerful engagement engine overrides the weaker safety filter, then restricted mode becomes almost meaningless. Those search terms led directly to videos of women simulating masturbation and, in the most extreme cases, explicit pornographic films. According to Ava Lee from Global Witness, TikTok isn't just failing to prevent children from accessing inappropriate content, it's suggesting it to them as soon as they create an account. And this isn't an isolated phenomenon. Research from the Center for Countering Digital Hate found something truly chilling. A new TikTok account could be recommended suicide-related content within just 2.6 minutes of joining. Eating disorder content appeared within 8 minutes. This shows how quickly the algorithm can steer vulnerable users down dangerous rabbit holes. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is that this isn't a one-time failure. The researchers first found this problem in April and immediately informed TikTok. The company said it took action. But when Global Witness ran the exact same test again months later, they found the problem was still there. This highlights the constant cat and mouse game between platforms and rule evaders. Even if TikTok did implement a fix, creators constantly develop new ways to fool the moderation, AI. It's a technological arms race, and it raises the question of whether moderation AI is actually losing. This wasn't just in an experiment. The report noted comments from real users, with one asking, "What's wrong with this app?" and another writing, "Can someone explain to me what is up with my search recs, please?" So, what's the real failure here? Is it a technical bug or an inevitable feature of the business model? After all, sensational and sexualized content is notoriously high engagement. This creates a fundamental economic tension. While a company publicly commits to safety, its core algorithm is financially incentivized to push the very content that puts kids at risk. Here's where it gets really interesting: the timing. The second investigation was conducted times after times. The UK's new Online Safety Act's children's codes came into force. This isn't just a bad look for TikTok, it's a potential landmark legal case. The UK's regulator, Ofcom, now has serious teeth. They have the power to issue massive fines up to £18 million, or even more staggering, 10% of a company's entire global turnover. This report could become the first major public test of one of the toughest tech laws on the planet.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.